enter the new week of shows. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, bringing you that fire, talking Bama football. Our own producer Eli Walker was sitting there saying that beat that we brought you guys in on, that's that New Orleans beat right there. That's that Louisiana Cajun beat. Alabama playing in the Sugar Bowl New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve, against Kansas State. We'll get to more than that later on. You're rocking and rolling right here. Hottest show on the streets, bring you Bama football. Welcome in, welcome in. We bring you the show from the magic city of Birmingham. Streaming this to you on YouTube. And speaking of the channel, you know what time it is. Smash that subscribe button right now. Stop all that you're doing. Hit subscribe on the channel right now. Get every friend, every family member, every casual fan, every diehard Bama fan, every consumer of Tide football that you know, maybe don't know, anybody that's got an itch for Alabama football, get them right here. Hit that subscribe button. Also, like the show. Run those likes up. Give us a thumbs up. Make this your show, your platform, channel, space to talk Bama football. Trying to get this to 50 likes on the show out the gate right now. Appreciate you guys. Daily Super Chat goal, $100. Daily Super Chat goal, $100 right there. Appreciate you, all the donations and Super Chats. Welcomed and appreciated. We got a great one tonight. Fantastic one tonight. Eli, we want to hear from all of you, the outstanding fans of Bama football. You can do this by calling 205-448-1358. Number to call in. Let your voice be made known. 205-448-1358. Excuse me. One more time. 205-448-1358. And Eli, let's jump into it, baby. Jumping into it. Alabama Nation wanted the Crimson Tide. Some of you wanted the Crimson Tide in the college football playoff. I myself did it also. I mean, we were glued to the TV on Sunday, waiting on the college football playoff committee do that Spike Lee, do the right thing, have Bama in the top four. Bama had all the chaos that needed to get in there potentially, but because of the fact, did not handle business against Tennessee and LSU. And we all know one of Nick Saban's favorite statements: you control your own destiny. You don't allow external factors to control your destiny, because when that happens, you never know what is going to transpire. And when the destiny for Alabama got put in the hands of the college football playoff committee, what happened? The 4 seeds ended up being Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State, and TCU, which has Alabama on the outside looking in at number 5, and that's where it stands. Crimson Tide going to the Sugar Bowl, All-State Sugar Bowl in New Orleans, Louisiana on New Year's Eve. Game will be played 11 a.m. Central Time. Bama will take on Kansas State, the winner of the Big 12 championship game. And while some people look at this as, this is not what the Bama Nation wanted, this was not what the Bama Nation needed, this is not what the Crimson Tide want to have happen and or go down, I'll say this. There's a consolation prize in making it to the Sugar Bowl. There's a silver lining in all of this. Yes, of course, the primary goal, college football playoff, Bama wants national championships, absolutely. That's the expectation, that's the end-all goal. That's what you play for. You play for the national championship. I mean, Jay-Z once said, you know, if you're not trying to go hard or go home, why bother? I know that's a lyric to a Jay-Z song somewhere in there, but the point being is the main goal is trying to go after championships. But in a year where Alabama up and down, Crimson Tide inconsistent, Bama several penalties, Bama uncharacteristic play, Bama questionable play calling on both sides to keep it nicely, Bama not the dominant force this season that we've known it to be in the years past, but still getting the Sugar Bowl, still getting a classic bowl game, classic traditional bowl venue, still in a New Year's Six Bowl and you have a chance to close out your season the right way, 11 wins to end the year, there's a silver lining there. There's a good consolation there. Good thing there. And in particular for Nick Saban, this is a chance for him to get his second Sugar Bowl victory as Alabama's head football coach. The Sugar Bowl has not been kind to Nick Saban. Hasn't been kind to Alabama. Aside from one win, the 2017 matchup against Clemson, where it won 24-6, went on to play for a national championship against Georgia that year. Bama hasn't fared well in the Sugar Bowl under Coach Saban. The 2009 matchup against Utah off the 2008 season, nobody wanted to play in that game because of the loss to Florida in the SEC championship, and Bama got beaten in that game by Utah. And then the 2014 Sugar Bowl off a 13 season, everybody was so dejected from the kick six against Auburn that that was a loss there against Oklahoma. The only bright spot in the 2014 Sugar Bowl was Derrick Henry ending his freshman year with a bang, and folks thought, oh mama, that guy's going to be great for years to come. And Derrick Henry became great for years to come. And when you look at the 2015 Sugar Bowl off the 14 season, a season that started the college football playoff, I mean, Blake Sims gave it a great effort. Really did. Derrick Henry, great effort. Lane Kiffin, if you just would have kept running the ball, things could have been different there, but Alabama lost to Ohio State in that Sugar Bowl. So here's a shot here for Nick Saban to conquer this atmosphere, to conquer this venue, this bowl site, and to get his second win as Alabama's head football coach in the Sugar Bowl. So to me, good venue, strong venue right here. And what this also does, in terms of a silver lining, it gets your young players jump-started for next season. Your guys like Ty Simpson, Jalen Milroe, Jamarian Miller, get Jace McClellan, Roydell Williams jump-started for next year. Guys like Isaiah Bond, Kobe Prentice, Chaz Preston, Kendrick Law, JoJo Earl, Ja'Cory Brooks. Those guys jump-started for next year. Amari Nyblack, Tyler Booker, J.C. Latham, Seth McLaughlin, other young guys on the offensive line. Get those guys going for next year. Defensively, get guys on defense going for next year. Deontay Lawson, Kendrick Blackshire, Jahad Campbell, Sean Murphy, Jeremiah Alexander, Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell. Get some guys going. Get some guys with some built-up confidence going to the next season where you hit that reset button and you get that culture, that nasty, physical, will rough you up, dominant mindset of a culture back in here. And you can do this with the Sugar Bowl. I've mentioned this before. 2010. Alabama didn't play for a natty, but it went down to the Capital One Bowl. It beat the brakes off Michigan State, 45-7. And that mindset, I'm going to switch 2011, 2012, back-to-back national titles. Bang, bang, boom. 2019, Bama didn't play for a natty. But Mac Jones, Mac Jizzle, Mac 10, oh yeah, went down there, Citrus Bowl against Michigan, 35-16 the final. That jump-started Mac Jones to lead Alabama undefeated college football national championship in a COVID-shortened year in 2020. Yes, it's the Sugar Bowl. We all wanted the national championship. We all wanted the committee putting Bama in there. At least most of us did. But, hey, didn't happen. Now you make the best of this situation. You take on Kansas State. You handle business. And you jumpstart yourself for 2023 meaning absolute madness for the rest of college football. We take our first break here, folks. We'll touch that down. We get back, we go to the phone lines. We grab your thoughts, your phone calls, your conversations, your viewpoints. What do you think? Bama All-State Sugar Bowl. You love it? You hate it? What do you think about it? We get to you after this.
Nine players have teamed up and released the Alabama Team Paper, which is a video yearbook they've put out for sale direct to fans. Now, for the first time, small dollar purchases from the fans can support the players as a group as well as a great cause, because $1 of every subscription payment is donated to the Boys and Girls Club of America. Be a 5-star fan base and support your team and a great cause with Team Paper. Check it out at teampaper.com/Alabama.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
All right, folks, we're back into the action from the break. Hottest show on the streets, talking that Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of TDA on a Monday. Continue hitting that like button. Give us that thumbs up. Like the show at 46 likes right now. Trying to get this at 50. Starting the show off. Appreciate you guys. Daily Super Chat going $100 right there. Daily Super Chat go $100. Thank you. Thanks to all of you. All donations valued and appreciated there. The Heisman finalists are out. You got Caleb Williams, quarterback of USC. Max Duggan, quarterback of TCU. You got Hendon Hooker in there, quarterback of Tennessee. You got CJ Stroud, quarterback of USC. Heisman finalists are out, but Bryce Young not on the list there, and that's to be expected just due to Alabama not playing for a national championship and Bama being up and down all year. But I still stand by this. His numbers this year, far more impressive than what they were last year, just due to all he's had to overcome, and still had Alabama in conversation. Like, Bryce Young still had folks sweating. Is Bama really going to get in? Is Bama really going to jump in here? So the fact that Bryce went through injured shoulder, weird, suspect, elementary, poor play calling from Bill O'Brien, running for his life half the time, receivers dropping passes, and Bryce still put up numbers. The other guy should be a finalist for the Heisman Trophy. He should be. But the reason why he's not, we all know. Bama's not competing for a national championship. If it were, B9, BY9 would be right there. We all kind of had this idea. But we take our calls right now. 205-448-1358. Number to call in. 205-448-1358. We grab this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Stephen. I'm Robert from Mobile.
Robert, what's happening, man?
Yeah, I think the biggest disappointment about this season is, again, all the time we were just one mistake away from going undefeated. And you watch the games the teams have played this weekend, I didn't see anybody that Alabama couldn't beat. They're not, it's not that Georgia is just so head and shoulders above Alabama. We played 5 times. Georgia will win 4 out of 5. No, I don't think anybody will be able to win 4 out of 5 times, especially at TCU. It just like the chips just kept falling against us. It just was one of those seasons that, we just get a few breaks our way, then we can run the whole thing. It's not, some juggernaut team like LSU was that year in 2019 or the way Alabama was in 2020. They were just unbeatable, and it's just their year, and everybody else just is in the way right now. That's not how this season broke out. It was if the guy doesn't try to recover a fumble in Tennessee when everybody's saying to get away from it, or if we hit a field goal in Tennessee, or in the case of LSU, we don't go for 2-point conversions 2 times. We just don't we just kick the extra point. That game doesn't go into overtime. It's just mistakes, little things that just kept getting in our way, that kept Alabama from advancing. It's TCU that were down 1 loss, but if the committee, what is your goal? To pick the best 4 teams, or what you consider the most deserving team? If you want the best 4 teams, well, there was no better 4 teams in Alabama. But if you wanted the most deserving team, well, like I said, as I said earlier, Tennessee, well, you say more deserving than we were. But it was frustrating that this team was good enough to, the talent was there to go undefeated and win it all, but they just couldn't get out of their way enough to do so. And if we had better coordinators, that would have done it. We could have still won it. Or we had that one stud receiver that we've had in the past. It's just frustrating that the season ended like it did, especially with Bryce. It's okay. They had the best quarterback ever, and we gave him one of the worst teams. It's definitely one of the worst teams in the Saban era, and the worst coaches, and it was just a lot of opportunities missed. That will be forever one of the downsides of the season. We just missed an opportunity. Next year, there's gonna be a lot of question marks. Now, if this happens, if we don't make the playoffs next year, that's kind of be understandable, because all the question marks are going to be surrounding this team. And we'll see if we can rebuild from this, because it's going to be this year definitely true rebuilding year. Next year will be where you don't know your quarterback, who your quarterback will be. You don't know who your star receiver is going to be. You don't know who. I guess we got an idea about the running back, but we're not totally sure. But we're not totally sure the area, the linebackers, offensive line, defensive line. The question marks are going to just be galore next year. But this year, that's why it would have been really good to get it this year. And, okay, we take a break next year and then rebuild from that and then get ready for the expanded playoff in 2024. But it's just going to be a really disappointing year. Again, TCU, the thing just fell into place for them. Just kept falling into place. So, well, I guess that's how it goes. They'll get bounced quick, and TCU is fool's gold. They don't belong in the playoffs, and Ohio State, okay, they're a blue blood program. Yeah, we can see them being in the playoffs. But the way they committed it this year was really not good as far as the championship games. Again, with USC, it should not have been a play. Only thing you do is play yourself out. You can't play yourself in. But you didn't allow TCU to play themselves out, or anybody else. The only team that could play themselves out of the playoff was USC. And while Ohio State gets to sit at home playing one less game, that wasn't good. If anything, they should have had Ohio State in earlier with USC, with the caveat, if you win your championship, you get in. Then, okay, yeah, USC would have had something to play for, rather than you might hold your spot if you don't lose. That wasn't good. But the 12-team playoff fixes all this stuff, which finally college football is waking up and seeing the light. So, well, yeah, we can move on from there. But I would say, well, we'll get them next year. But next year is, with all these question marks, who knows what's going to happen next year. I mean, it's just unfortunate we missed a great opportunity. But that's how it goes. All right, man.
Appreciate Robert from Mobile starting us off here on a Monday, and the idea for Coach Saban, getting this thing refocused, making some assessments, making some evaluations, making some changes. There's the word that starts with the letter C. Some changes, and then we go from there. But we grab this call. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Stephen. It's Daniel from Phoenix City. How are you?
Doing great, Daniel, and yourself?
Oh, man, I'm here. I'm not thrilled about the way things turned out, but, it is what it is. And I had a thought. I don't know if you remember how Quinn Ewers had said if Alabama beat Texas, he was going to cut his mullet. I'm going to do the reverse. If TCU manages to beat Michigan, I'm going to grow a mullet because it's just not going to happen. I'm just saying, I'm kind of just blown away on that. I think the committee got it wrong. Strictly my opinion, but TCU, the last caller, when he said fool's gold, I think that's absolutely right. And I still say the Ohio State thing set a really bad precedent. You can just get destroyed at the end of the season and still just waltz in there. But that's neither here nor there. Like you said a minute ago with the changes, I can't wait for that. I'm really, 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 really hoping to see Bill O'Brien not in Tuscaloosa next year. But I had a couple questions for you about some players. What do you think? Do you think Eli Ricks goes to the NFL or does he stay another year?
I would like to see him stay. Now, it depends on what is his move, but I would like to see him stay just due to we didn't see him until toward the end, like toward the back part of the season. So he needs to stay to get more tape, to get more film on him for pro scouts. He had good film, great film his freshman year at LSU. I mean, that was good. He was hurt his second year at LSU. This season did not get on the field till toward the end. So it would seriously benefit him. He needs to come back another year and play a full season.
Think so.
He needs to come back. He needs to come back and play a full season. Now, once again, this is the time, Daniel, where a lot of these agents, they'll get in your ear. Hey, bro, you're going to be a first-round pick. Hey, dog, you're going to be a second-round pick. And they're in your ear trying to collect their money from you in the future, but you may not be ready right now. And Eli Ricks personally is not ready right now. And I just remember when this draft process was happening back in 2018 with Savion Smith. And folks got into Savion Smith's ear and told Savion, hey, you can go pro, go get drafted. Savion goes off for the draft. He wasn't ready. And the young man, bless his heart, went undrafted. So you look at, for Eli Ricks, he needs another year.
I'd agree with that. I mean, like you said, he didn't have the film this year. I think he could move himself up a lot more. The other player I was going to ask, it was actually back to what I was talking about the other day with Christian Leary. Do you think there was stuff going on behind the scenes, or do you think it was just Bill just simply wasn't using Christian Leary and that's the end of it?
I just think Christian Leary was not used, and that's the end of it. I just do not think he was used. And when you go back and you watch how Kobe Prentice, Isaiah Bond, and Kendrick Law, all three talented freshmen, I take nothing from those three, and you're going to grow with those three, but all three freshmen got on the field above Christian Leary. That's a problem. And people have been asking all season, where's the guy that can take the top off the defense where he's on the bench? You're not using him. This is 10.5, 100-meter dash speed coming from Florida that was not utilized. That's a problem. And you have to look at Bill O'Brien and wonder, do you recognize the personnel that you got here? He's not on the field. Christian Leary is not on the field. And if he was on the field, he was on the field in garbage time. You got to play this man early in games to get him going. I just feel like it was a situation he was not used, and that's on Bill O'Brien.
100%. I mean, I just didn't know if there was something going on behind there. That just makes it that much worse that this guy just sat there and watched people drop passes and not get open. And I know some of that has to do with routes, but still, that's really disappointing. But hopefully, after this bowl game, if he's still there in the portal, we get an actual coordinator and Coach Saban's able to bring him back, but we'll see. But anyway, Stephen, I appreciate you taking my call. Thank you.
Absolutely. Appreciate Daniel from Phoenix City calling in right there. This transfer portal, Eli's going crazy. Do you know, Eli, over 700 names are in the portal right now? That's crazy. Over 700 names are in the portal. We take this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, good afternoon, Steve. This is Rob from Chicago.
Rob, what's happening, man?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, man. I really enjoy your show, man. I even when I don't call in, I particularly like the viewpoints of people like Tobias and Elijah and Bill from New York. And kind of in that vein, I think Bama had a pretty good year this year. I was disappointed in the playoff situation, but not surprised. And I think you nailed it early on in your comments. You got to control your own destiny. You can't rely on these committees. And you got to be in a position where it's a no-brainer like Georgia or Michigan. So I think that's the learning from this. No doubt in my mind that Alabama could beat all these teams on any given one day, particularly with Bryce at quarterback. But the bottom line is they weren't consistent enough. But let me get to my real comments here. There's a difference between being a fan and a fanatic. A fan is clear-eyed about the school and Alabama, and not to be negative, but just from the spirit of continuous improvement, I think we got to be clear-eyed that Alabama didn't do a lot of the fundamentals very well this year. And I think we get caught up in, talking about coaches and X and O's, but there are a couple of things that really I've never seen in an Alabama team like I've seen this year. The number of penalties, number one. The lack of turnovers on defense, number two. The horrible tackling, particularly in the last Auburn game. I mean, for Nick Saban to be talking about poor tackling in the 10th or 11th game of the year, that's unheard of. And then the situational football. And I'm going to be really hard on a person here for the purpose of illustration. Sometimes there are 100 plays in a season that make the season, but sometimes there's one play that defines a championship. For example, the Malcolm Butler interception. Everybody remembers that, right? That defined that season. That interception he made off of Seattle on the goal line. I would say to you that the play of the year that defined the year for Alabama in terms of the championship was that 2-point conversion that LSU made. Golding had the right defense call. Battle was in position to make the play. He didn't make the play. A 3-year starter playing on a national championship team in 2020. I know this is harsh, but this is the type of situation that we have to talk about. We're going to be clear-eyed about Alabama and what they did this year. The other point I would make is physicality. And it's embodied by the lack of run defense and a lack of consistent running to salt away a game. And, I hate to harp on Georgia, but did you see Kirby's comments after their championship game? When they asked him about his defensive performance, he said he wasn't going to tolerate that performance again in a 20-point game. He talked about the fact that they're going to go back to Bloody Tuesday, a very physical practice on every Tuesday. He talked about not allowing the offense to take what they want, but for the defense to take what they wanted. And I guess the question I ask for you, Steve, is have you ever heard the word unacceptable by any of the coaches today in describing Alabama's performance in any of the games? I haven't heard it. You're closer to it than I am. But that's the type of situation we got to really be clear-eyed about. And the last thing I want to say is, Georgia's not unbeatable, unstoppable, but they are the standard. We got to be clear-eyed about that. They lost over 10 guys to the pros, and they're here. I mean, they're not like LSU or Auburn, flash and pan championships with great talent 1 year or 2 years. These folks are here, and we've got to understand that. They're not invincible. They're replicating a lot of things that we've done, but we've got to get back to that level. Because, if we want to be competitive and a top 10 team, If we're fine with that, okay, that's where we are. But if we want to dominate, if that's the standard, we've got to go back to these fundamentals improving. And from those fundamentals improving, we'll see the difference in the score and in our ranking. And so my question for you, Steve, is, when you look at the culture of these fundamentals, I mean, you talk to ex-players, you're around. What are the 2 or 3 specific things that have to be done to change this culture? Because that, to me, is the most disconcerting thing about Alabama. If we don't fix, we will continue to slip. And by the way, the SEC is getting stronger. You look at these teams at the bottom, they're getting stronger, man. And so, we got to stay ahead of this posse. Appreciate your thoughts. Thanks.
Absolutely. Robert from Chicago calling in there. So the 3 things that Alabama would have to get right in terms of this culture. Number 1, I've said this, Eli, get back to getting the players that want Bama football, that identify with it, that understand, that grew up in the culture, that have been taught it. You can't fully understand something that you're not in, right? I mean, you can try to learn it from the outside, you can try, but it's something different when you grew up in it. It's born in you. It's written in you. It's ingrained in you. So Bama's got to get back to getting those types of players in terms of those guys that fully understand the culture that has been set. That's number 1. Number 2 in my mind is you have to get back to having those coaches that can relate to all of these players, but not just relate, demand and request and get the utmost out of those players, squeezing every ounce of juice from that orange in terms of players. And you look at the coaches on staff right now in Alabama, you have to ask yourself, are these coaches getting every ounce of these players? I don't think they are. I really don't think they are. Are they holding these players accountable as coaches? I don't think they are. Are they putting these players in the best, most ideal situations to have success on the field for the whole team to have success? I don't think they are. That's number 2. And I think the third thing, in terms of getting the culture back in order where it needs to be, is having the vocal leadership from a player's perspective. We've heard former players talk about the player-led teams are the best ones. Those are the championship teams, the teams where the players police everything else, where the coaches, they don't necessarily have to say anything. You have 5 to 6 guys on the team that police that entire team, and when they walk into a room, everybody else, their butt is like a pincushion, squozed up tight, because they know, hey, big bruh been into this room, I got to come correct in here. So that's just my opinion on that. But we're going to go to this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
What's going on, Steve? Elijah from Jersey. How you feel?
Doing great, Elijah, and yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing pretty good. Man, kudos go out to that last caller, man. He hit a lot of points right on the head, and he kept it 100% real. But the thing I wanted to talk about today was, I always felt, is Bama a playoff team? I'm going to say, Steve, with the way we played this year, no. We're not a playoff team. But with all the chaos that happened this weekend, did Bama deserve their chance to get into those playoffs? Absolutely. I was so disappointed listening to ESPN. Those guys talk about TCU, Michigan, and Georgia. They were automatically in before they had to play the championship game. And I think that's a bunch of BS. And this is the reason why I say this. People say they left TCU at number 3 after losing, a game. But my thing is, what happened last year with when Alabama played Georgia? Georgia was the number 1 seed going into the SEC championship game. When Alabama beat them, Georgia dropped. So those title games mean something, especially somebody like Booger McFarland, these TCU shouldn't be punished by losing their conference championship game. Absolutely not. I mean, absolutely, they should be punished. You know, that's a game that you were playing. You lost. USC got blown out. They dropped. They dropped out of it. TCU, by losing to Kansas State was number 11. TCU, you're number 3. Whether you lose in overtime or you lose in regulation, you need to drop. There's no way in the world you lose a game and you stay right there to the number 11 team. Alabama, I'm not going to say they played well, but Alabama lost to number 6, Tennessee. Then they lost to number 10, LSU. You know, USC got demolished. Okay, they came out. But when when Ohio State, Steve, when they lost to Michigan, and Ohio State was number 2 and Michigan was number 3, when you get mollywopped and skull dragged like that, last game of the season, Steve, you can't tell me you dropped from 2 to 5. They got skull dragged. They should have at least been 7, 8, something like that. That wasn't a close game. You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense the way this committee did this. And, you know, if Condoleezza Rice is still making her suggestions up there, I could tell why things are off, because she probably don't even know how to throw a football. But, Steve, when it comes down to it, man, what happened this weekend? Ohio State, even though I felt like they should have dropped further, Ohio State and Alabama should have went in. USC and TCU should have came out, man. And, you know, I think they got tired of seeing Bama, because Bama had every right to go in. I think the college football world is tired of seeing Bama, and they don't want to give Bama the opportunity. But as far as Alabama football goes, I think to get this program turned around, I don't know if you've seen this, Steve, but did you see that interview that Deion Sanders had with the Colorado football players?
I did.
That's what needs to happen at Alabama. When he told them straight up, I'm coming, you know, so y'all could go ahead and hit the portal if y'all want. Basically telling them, y'all go ahead and leave. Whoever ain't bought in to the program, go ahead and get on up out of here. You know, it's too much complacency in Alabama, like that last caller said. Where is the word unacceptable? We're not going to accept this type of play. You know, I think Saban needs to take that page out of Deion Sanders' book and say, hey, if you don't want to live up to the standard here, get out of here. Because we got a ton of other players that we could go into the portal or recruit to come in and replace you. Just like Deion told him, this is your quarterback back here, but I'm bringing 10 more guys, and they all dogs, and they all hunt, and they hungry. That needs to be the culture back at Alabama. Either shit or get off the pot. That as simple as that. We got too many guys that they're too complacent, Steve. They're not worried about losing their spots, and they're playing like it. The cream got to rise to the top once again, and I think Saban needs to light that fire under the coordinators, under the players, that this is no longer going to be acceptable. But thanks a lot, Steve, for taking my call.
Roger, absolutely. Calling in from Jersey. And Inga, I've made this point before with our own Justin Smith of TDA Scouting and Recruiting Analyst on the Bama Elite podcast. I've said this. The committee contradicts itself so much. It really does. I mean, Condoleezza Rice is no longer on the panel. I think her last year was 2015 or 16. But we've seen the college football playoff committee. They say, well, if your star player gets injured, we'll take that into account. Bryce Young got hurt for Alabama. I saw nobody taking that into account, but I digress from that situation. Then you look at the playoff committee will tell you, you know, we want to see domination from start to finish, right? We want to turn on this tape, and we want to see from the very moment that you kick this ball off, at what point that you take complete control over the football game, and you hold that complete control, right, from start to finish. They take it frame by frame by frame by frame, right? If you watch every game TCU has played this year, point to one game where TCU, from the opening kick to the final whistle, where the Horned Frogs completely controlled the football game, you probably will not find one. Why? Because all of their wins have come by cardiac arrest. At the very end, they snatch it out. At the very end. And the committee expected TCU to skull drag a 3-loss Kansas State team, which is in the Big 12 title game, which was virtually a home game for TCU, and the Horned Frogs had no control of that football game. Now, Kansas State should have blown them out, absolutely, but TCU had no control of that game. So you lose to a 3-loss Kansas State, there's no way you should go in, period. But it is what it is. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Steve, man, this is Jonathan with out here in the state of Louisiana. How you doing this afternoon?
Doing great, Charles, and yourself.
Oh man, I'm doing well. It's Jonathan, but yeah, I'm doing awesome. Listen, man, real fast. I've been watching everything that's been going down with the Tide, man. I've been a Tide fan for a couple of years. And, I'm down here in Louisiana, man. I would love to go to the Sugar Bowl, but I'm kind of apprehensive, man. I just don't see where this team has been playing together as a team. I mean, I guess with Bryce Young, the guy can only do so much. I mean, half the time he's running for his life. I mean, he can only make so many plays. I mean, I just think it's just too much pressure on him. The wide receivers, I haven't seen any type of wide receiver step up at all. I can remember back in, I think it was the national championship game when Marquise Mays went down. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Kevin Norwood that stepped up and became the man in that game. Defensive-wise, I definitely know that we definitely need another defensive coordinator and another offensive coordinator. Me personally, and I don't know if Saban has this type of power to try to go over there and go talk to him, but Scott Cochran, our former strength and conditioning coach, I would try to go back over there, man, and get our strength and conditioning coach back to Bama, man, back to where he belongs. Because these guys just need some fire. They need something to fire them up and light them up. Jeremy Pruitt, I know Jeremy Pruitt was our defensive coordinator at one point in time. Maybe we could try to go back and get Jeremy Pruitt, man. I mean, these guys need something. I think with Coach Saban getting older, Coach Saban is still the great, but at this point he can only do so much. I know he teaches the defense, he does with the defensive backs, and but you can oversee so much. I mean, you have so much going on. You got your defensive, you got your offensive, you have your special teams. And a lot of these plays that Bama was doing, man, it was just completely just uncharacteristic. It really, really, really was. And after everything, with these games, these last games, I just felt that the Sugar Bowl and us being at number 5, I think that we deserve to be at number 5. Because I didn't want to see us move up and then, we create penalties or uncharacteristic plays or whatever you may have, and then you get beat. You get beat in the semifinal playoff game. You know what I'm saying? So, even if we would have moved up and played, and let's say we would have lost, everybody would have said, man, Bama should have played better. You get a Sugar Bowl, you don't go to the national championship, and everybody's like, okay, this is unacceptable. So, to me, something has to shake. I think that you need another offensive coordinator, another defensive coordinator, and another new strength and conditioning coach. And, man, just try to get these boys back, man. If you could get some of these older cats that used to play, defensive minds back to come and step in and help Coach Saban out, I think that would be awesome, man. Hey, look, Bama got the bag. Make it happen, man. just sign a check. And hey, man, get these cats back, man. I don't even see them with the 4 fingers anymore. With the 4th quarter program, the effort, commitment, discipline, toughness, and pride. Like Coach Saban said on in one of his interviews, that the team would normally used to chant coming down the tunnel, And one of these games, they wasn't even chanting. You know, that's not Bama, man. You know, I mean, when Cat stepped on the field with Bama, they already knew it's gonna be hell, and it's gonna be a price to pay. Defensive wise, it was gonna be a price to pay. Offensive wise, we was gonna do what we had to do. I even watched Greg McElroy, I think like a couple of days ago, and he made some great points, and he was even saying that he didn't recognize not like the entire team, but he just didn't recognize like the play calling and everything. He said, you know, it just wasn't that standard. It's just not there, you know. And I don't know, and I kind of think, which the NIL a little bit has something to kind of do with it a little bit. I mean, I know the players need to get paid and everything because these universities are making a bunch of money on these cats with their faces and all this other stuff. But, you know, I think some of these cats are just like, you know, whichever school and whichever NIL deal is going to offer me the most money, that's where I'm going to go. And I really don't have to work. Why work when, you know, I could just bounce from here to there and make, you know, a couple of $millions. You know, so, I mean, you know, to them, it's easy, it's light work. But, you know, I mean, it's good to make money and everything. But at the same time, man, I mean, you have to stay humble. You have to stay humble and stay hungry and grind and fight, you know, and I just think that we just don't have that fight. So I just think that at some point we're going to have to get back. And at the end of this season, coach is going to have to make some changes. I mean, you know, I don't even know if Bryce Young is going to even play, if he's going to sit out for the Sugar Bowl. I mean, because, you know, I mean, he's done, to me, he's done what he needed to do for Alabama. He's done everything humanly possible. Now, does it make sense for him to play in the game and possibly get hurt? I don't want to see the brother get hurt. But, you know, he was already kind of, you know, with his shoulder and everything, you know, so I don't know. I don't know what he's going to do. And I don't know, but I definitely know that we definitely need a complete overhaul, and we just need to get back to that Bama standard, man. I appreciate you taking the time, and I'll listen in and see what you have to say.
Appreciate Jonathan calling in from Louisiana. There's definitely got to be some changes. It's got to, because it's no longer fans and media. I've said this before. Former players are talking now. Guys that have been in those locker rooms, been in those trenches, been in those games, been in that environment, been in that atmosphere, that have won championships with Coach Saban, which in that time, Saban was treating these guys as if they were Navy SEALs going to war. And they are looking at this product and they're going, this ain't Bama. This ain't right. This is not the program that I graduated from. And these are former players. We're talking guys like Bo Scarborough, guys like Reggie Ragland, guys like Nick Gentry, guys like Marquise Mays, guys like Matt Caddell, guys like Greg McElroy. This is not Crimson Tide football. They are saying this because they know what it is. They played in it. So real recognize real. And when you're real and you don't recognize the product that you're seeing, you know something ain't right. Something has got to be altered here. So after the bowl game this offseason, I see those changes being made. But we got some huge transfer portal news, as our own associate producer Eli Walker has just put this up on screen. We appreciate that, Eli. 3 new names for Alabama entering the portal. So the house being cleaned, huge for Alabama in terms of athletes. Wide receiver JoJo Earl in the portal. This is a shock to me. Didn't think JoJo would go in there. Offensive lineman Amari Kite in the portal. Not much of a shock there. And offensive lineman Tommy Brockermeyer, former 5-star in the 2021 class. And people are high on Brockermeyer coming out of Texas. He's in the portal as well. I know Tommy Brockermeyer dealt with some injuries there, so unfortunately was not able to flourish for Alabama. But JoJo Earl, Amari Kite, and Tommy Brockermeyer in the portal. So that's 3 more scholarship guys. I think Eli puts Bama at 11 scholarship guys in the portal. I think that's 11. So that's crazy right there, the portal filling up. But we get some super chats right now. So how about Elizabeth Reed with that $19.99 dropping the love in there. Appreciate Elizabeth Reed helping us out there. And then we got Robert Hill with that $2 donation. Showing love. Appreciate that from Robert. We got our own President Wayland with that $1.99 in there. Appreciate Wayland, and our own Tobias from Fresno with that 50-piece in the Super Chats. Thanks to all of you that daily go $100. $100 there. Daily Go. Show that support, making this your show, your space to talk Crimson Tide football. Cool call topic right here. Alabama had their annual awards banquet on Sunday at Coleman Coliseum, and several awards as always given out. The main one, most valuable player, that went to Bryce Young. No brainer there. Not a shock to anybody. Voted on by his peers. Bryce Young, the team MVP. As far as the permanent captains, Bryce Young, Will Anderson, and Jordan Battle voted as a permanent team captain. So there are your three. Bryce Young, Will Anderson, and Jordan Battle, permanent team captains there for your Crimson Tide, voted on by their teammates at the annual awards banquet on Sunday. So Crimson Tide getting itself prepared here for the Sugar Bowl against Kansas State taking place here on New Year's Eve. But we can take a break right now, folks. We'll touch that down. We return to the action. We get into draft-eligible juniors for Alabama. How many of these guys will opt out the Sugar Bowl? How many of these guys will not play in this matchup? Get into it after this.
Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
All right, folks, we're back into the action, rocking and rolling from the break. Hottest show in the streets, talking Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith here, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Continue hitting that like button, hit that thumbs up, raise those likes up right here. Trying to get this thing to 100 likes or over. 100 likes here. Appreciate that support, hitting that like button. Daily Super Chat Go, $100. Daily Super Chat Go, $100 right there. Appreciate all the love and support coming from you guys. Transfer portal going absolutely crazy right now. JoJo Earl, Amari Kite, Tommy Brockermeyer. The newest names in there for Alabama. Those names joining the likes of Trey Sanders, Kyrie Jackson, Kyrie Jackson, Javion Cohan, Damian George, Tanner Bowles, Christian Leary, Trayshawn Holden. Goodness. I mean, Saban clearing out the church, ain't he? The church ain't saying amen on that, but he cleared them out. He definitely cleared them out in terms of players. But we get into this conversation here in Sugar Bowl, New Year's Eve, time of the year where players that know they're going to be concrete first-round picks, they choose to sit out bowl games. They choose to opt out, trying to protect their investment, not get hurt, maintain the high draft stock. For example, Ohio State's wide receiver Jackson and Jigba, I think that's his name right there. He's choosing to opt out of the Buckeyes matchup against Georgia in the semifinal game. So you got that going on right there. It's really interesting. It's really interesting when you got players that opting out right there. But when you look at it from Alabama's perspective here, how many draft eligible juniors for Alabama? Concrete first rounders now. will choose to sit out the Sugar Bowl. Now, Coach Saban on Sunday during the Sugar Bowl press conference, he mentioned he has not spoken yet to Bryce Young and Will Anderson. Both guys have been participating in weight training right now. A little workout thing going right now prior to getting that practice in, bowl prep, but Saban has not talked to Bryce or Will Anderson. But when he does have that conversation, quite a few things will be brought up about, you want to play in this game? Do you feel good to play in this game? If you don't want to play in this game, it's fine. You've done all that you need to do here where the program is concerned. Be interesting to see how Coach Saban goes about that deliberation. But I think I only see three, Eli. I only see three players that if I was Coach Saban, I would give them the blessing for, if you want to go pro, right? I remember in college basketball, John Calipari of Kentucky, if he knew a Kentucky player was a top 5 NBA draft pick, he would rip up their scholarship in a meeting with the player and say, go pro. I would literally rip their scholarship in their face, go pro. That's how Calipari used to do it. If he knew after 1 year you were top 5 NBA lottery pick, rip it up, go make that money. And if I was Coach Saban, the only 3 players, in my opinion, that would have that blessing, Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Jahmyr Gibbs. The only 3. As concrete, put it on the board, first rounder, no doubt, those 3. Bryce Young is a top 3 pick, period. Top 5 pick, period. Maybe the number 1 overall pick, depending on which mock draft you look at. If Bryce Young wants to forego the bowl game, let him forego the bowl game. That guy's got a defined NFL future, period. Same thing with Will Anderson. Top 3 pick, top 5 pick, maybe the number 1 overall pick, depending on whatever mock draft you're looking at. Defined NFL future. He says, hey, coach, I've done everything I can do. I want to go ahead and prepare for the draft. Let that man go prepare for the draft. Jahmyr Gibbs, first-round pick. Defined first-round pick right there. Whether it's the top of the first round or middle of the first round, Jahmyr Gibbs is going to go first round. He's got your speed. He's got your power. Can pass block. Great receiver out of the backfield. Gives you something in the return game. Fits the modern-day running back. And still put up numbers even though Bill O'Brien did not even use him properly throughout the season. Those will be the only 3. To me, you don't have to play in this bowl game. You can go prepare yourself for the NFL draft, period. Everybody else, to me, is kind of from fringe first round on down to second, third, fourth. They need this bowl game. The rest of them, they need this bowl game. You need all the tape you can get to show these scouts, because they're going to be at New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl. I look at guys like Jordan Battle, need this bowl game. DeMarco Hellams, need this bowl game. Byron Young, need this bowl game. DJ Dale, need this bowl game. Henry Toto, yeah, you need this one. Jalen Moody, you need this one. Tyler Steen, you need this one. Emil Ekiyor, you need this one. Cameron Latu, you need this one. They need this bowl game. Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Jahmyr Gibbs, they can sit this one out. Prepare for the NFL draft. The rest of them, they need this one. When you talk about, when you look at guys like, in particular, Battle, Hellams, Steen, Byron Young, Cameron Latu, a lot of those guys either fringe first-round picks, and by fringe first round, I'm referring to Eli between picks 20 and 32. Like, once you hit picks 20 and 32 of that first round, anything could swing, right? Anything could happen. People will try to talk and drop you down in the draft. So if you're looked at as a fringe first-round pick, you need every opportunity possible to wow a scout. For those guys like Battle, Helms, Steen, Ekiyor, Dale, To'o, Moody, they need this Sugar Bowl. Need the Senior Bowl, need all of it, but they need this Sugar Bowl. So that's just my opinion. I see three guys. Bryce Young, Will Anderson, Jahmyr Gibbs, going on in. Going on, prepare for the draft, if that's the move. Everybody else, beyond that field, playing in the Sugar Bowl, you're trying to increase your draft stock even more. We go to a break right now, folks. Don't touch that dial. When we return, we go back to the phone lines, taking your calls, your thoughts, your viewpoints, your conversations. Who do you think of the draft-eligible juniors should sit this one out? Do you think all of them should play the Sugar Bowl? I want to hear from you guys. Line us up after this.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care. In support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to whitwellsports.com and get your Title Towel today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
All right, Bama Nation, you guys have been unbelievable right now as we're back in from the break. 146 likes on the show. Let's get this thing to 200, folks. Hit that like button. Raise those likes up. Hit the like button right there. Appreciate you guys at Daily Super Chat Go $100. Daily Super Chat Go $100 right there. Make this your spot to talk Bama football. But right now, we go to the phone lines to grab your calls. 205-448-1358. Number to call in. 205-448-1358. We grab this call. You're live on the show. How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Steve, this is Jay from Florence. Man, we're going to lose our whole team, man.
Jay, it looked like it, man. It looked like everybody going 5 by 5 out the thing.
Man, what you said? What they? Hey, all the homeboys, we just gonna dip. Good, this man. Roll Tide, guys. I told my folks today at work at the water cooler. This here season, this off season, this got to set the tone for the rest of the decade, man. We got to get the Bama back in us, man. It's just been gone for too long, Steve.
Absolutely. Hey, Jay, you right. And we seeing the leave out from players, but now it's time, as you've said all the time, Jay, to leave out from these coaches, these coordinators.
Man, come on now. You know that man, this transfer portal is crazy, Steve. My fault, man.
I'm telling you, like, Jay, Eli and I were just talking about this because over 700 names are in this portal. Like right now.
I was just going to say that. It ain't even just us. Like, man, Justin, for all kinds of people just in the transfer portal, guys. So Hey,
Mama,
man, these
look,
young folks, they use
dude,
it.
my mom just hopped in the portal. My mom just hopped
I
in there.
believe you, see? Tell her to go with the biggest NIL check.
I promise
But
you,
yeah,
my mom just hopped in the portal, man. I'm trying to get her to come to Bama.
Man, well, we sure gonna need somebody to play safety. Hopefully, she got the footwork.
I'm hoping the same thing. No, you know what though? She don't got the foot. She got the footwork, but better, she got them hands. My mama got them hands now. She can play it.
Man, she can turn and look and play the ball, but I can't judge that speed.
But man, right now we got guys in the portal. I was not expecting JoJo Earl to go in there. This is kind of the same shock as Christian Leary. I didn't expect neither of those two to go in there, but my two boys, they shocked me.
You feel like we lose? I mean, I feel like we losing all these folks because he won't pull the trigger, man. These guys want to play. They want to play in a.
I mean, right. Those two.
Pace and play offense, man.
Earl and Leary, just those two specifically, are two guys that want to play in a creative offense. So I look at O'Brien, the reason behind those two in the portal. Everybody else, it's kind of, well, the writing's on the wall. But those two?
What's up with Cohen though? Like, what was that?
With him, that was a little eerie also because of the experience he has. But I think Tyler Booker, more physical than he is. And then on top of that, I look at the guys coming in this 2023 class. The guys coming for 2023, Jay, they nasty. These 2023 linemen, I spoke to one of them Tuesday of last week, Miles McVay. I said, McVay, who you trying to challenge when you get on campus? He said, man, I want Will Anderson and Dallas Turner. Miles McVay told me that straight up. That's who I want. Will Anderson and Dallas Turner. I'm like, dog, okay.
Yeah, see, I saw that. That's a great interview, but man, we need to pull that trigger, man. Miles McVay, he might want Will, but he still want to play in a better offense than what we got. What he gonna come get disappointed and leave like everybody else? If Bill and Pete them, they got to go, man. Like at this point, it's ridiculous because you finna lose what 10 people to the you finna lose 10 to 12 people to the draft.
Right.
Then you gonna lose another 25 folks in the portal because your coordinators, like, what? That's what? Too many daggone people, man.
That is literally half your team.
Come on now. We ain't rocket scientists, but we can do a little math. Goodness.
I mean, that is literally half your team. So yeah, after this bowl game, Bill O'Brien, Pete Golden, say we got to call both of these two in the office and be like, look, we tried it, it didn't work.
Why I gotta wait after the bowl game, man? Go and get it over with, man. Yeah, you don't just take no Band-Aid off slow, y'all. Go and rip it off. And all this playoff crying. Man, listen, Bama fans, please listen. Man, you handle your business. You ain't got to worry about nobody else doing the job for you. I'm so tired of hearing that, man. Like, we missed the playoffs. Goodness, it happened. Second time, only the second time. But goodness, guys, we missed it. Let's watch Georgia win another one. It ain't nothing but a baby Bama. The more they win, the more they say, oh, we're going to try to be like Bama. So,
I mean, if anything, watch the teams that are in the playoffs and let that put some hunger back in you.
Man, come on, man.
I mean, let that put some real fire back in you. Like, man, let that put some young G's and Soul Survivor back in you. Something.
But see, they gotta get who they got out of there though, because them guys ain't got no fire, man. Just because you turn your hat backwards don't mean you got no fire, Steve. Just because you a smooth talker in the press conference and can you know what I'm saying? You look good and talk good in the living room. P. Golden. But, man, on the field, man, we don't want none of that. We don't want, man, we want to see a defensive coordinator out there jumping and flipping and flopping on the ground like Kirby and Jeremy and all them boys used to. You miss a tackle, they in your face with it. Man, Pete, what he gonna say? Something real smooth to you on the sideline? I don't know, man. Steve, man, this man. We gotta this off season. We got Nick to what 2030.
Yeah.
Man, they got to set the tone for the rest of the decade, Steve. We just got to put the stank back on them, man. I love y'all. Roll Tide.
Appreciate my man Jay calling in right there. This is going to be a fun offseason. This is going to be a fun offseason. This may be the most interesting offseason I've covered. Eli, welcome to your first offseason, man. This may be the first fun offseason you're going to cover. So it's going to be... It's going to be something to document, some documentation on this. We grab this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hi, Steven. This is Adam calling from Georgia. How you doing?
Doing great, Adam, and yourself?
I'm doing good, thanks. There are a couple things I wanted to say. The first thing is I think we're a much better team than TCU, and I think if the committee looked at really the quality of the teams, they would have seen that. But I think the larger problem is that we gave them an opportunity to keep us out because we just didn't play to the Bama standard this year. I mean, if you look at, for example, how Georgia plays with hunger, with passion. You know, if you look at how Kansas State even plays, or how so many of these other teams, Michigan plays, they play with hunger. They're passionate about winning. They're not worried about their NIL deals, the transfer portal, winning a national title. They're doing the process every day to be successful. And I feel like that's what Bama always was, but isn't anymore. And I saw this year, especially on the defense, we didn't seem to have that same hunger and that same drive. And so my question for you is, how do you think that we can get that back?
How do you get that back? Well, Adam, it starts with the moves made this offseason for Coach Saban on the staff. Getting a defensive coordinator that's going to bring that energy, bring that fire, bring that hunger and that passion, holding those players accountable defensively. That's number one. Number two is getting the players in here that had that hunger and that passion already in them. Like you got to have that hunger and that passion already in you from a player's perspective. Yes, a coach can cultivate it. Yes, a coach can find ways to kind of inch it out of you, but as a player, that's got to already be built in you, and you got to be self-motivated at times to get that out. So having coaches that can mold and cultivate it, but more importantly, having players at the moment they set foot on campus, you look at that player and go, okay, there's something different about that guy. I can't put my finger on it, but there is something different about that dude right there. And that's where it starts. It starts in the coaches, getting the coaches in here, but recruiting the players that understand this is Alabama. This ain't USC. This ain't Texas. This ain't some Timbuktu program. This is the Mecca of college football. This is Alabama. I grew up in it. I know it. I watch it. I see it. I'm baptized in it. Put it in my bloodstream. That's what Bama's got to get back to.
That's a great answer. I totally agree with you, man. I appreciate your response and taking my call. Roll Tide.
Appreciate Adam calling in there from Georgia. That's just my thought. That's just my honest, given opinion. We're going to take this call here. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Steven, what's cracking on this Monday afternoon in Birmingham? What's going on, man?
Doing great, Waylon. Getting ourselves prepared here for the Sugar Bowl, All-State Sugar Bowl, Alabama, Kansas State on New Year's Eve in New Orleans. We already seeing more players for Alabama hitting the portal, but I say, hey, some hit the portal. You get some in here that are all in on being at Alabama and getting this thing back to a national championship under the Saban era. But as for me, I'm doing good, Waylon. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. You know, this will be Coach Saban's 17th year at Alabama. You know, we've been on top
of the college football since we know 2 off years, 21, 22, and you can say 2007, 8. I can't really put the 2008 team in there for what they done and then on to the championship in 2009. So Alabama's been on top for a long time. I remember 60s and 70s, the dominance of Coach Bryant and all that he done. And then, you know, we had a little fall off in the 80s there. You know, all we could wish for was we're going to beat Auburn in the Iron Bowl, you know. And then the 90s came along. We had a lot of success with Coach Stallings and even Mike DuBose with the teams Marvin was on. One of the best running backs we ever had was Sean Alexander. So, you know, it's Georgia's going to have a chance to win back-to-back national championships. You know, that's a very, very elite club when you break it down to the teams, college football teams that have done this. You know, Oklahoma, I say Notre Dame done it once, Oklahoma done it twice, USC once, Nebraska twice, Alabama done it 3 times. And so name me another college that's done it 3 times. So I don't know if you can find that or not. But, you know, you got to go out there and grab the gusto while it's there. So Kirby better grab it while it's there, because the way college football is now, that door could slam on you in a heartbeat and you're not there again on top. But when, you know, when the playoff gets to the 2024, we have this, you know, this bigger, you know, playoff situation. It's going to do nothing but benefit Alabama and Georgia. I mean, it's even going to put them, well, I told you, you know, what me and you have said, it's just going to put us up to the top even more, Alabama and Georgia, because they're going to be in it every year, so they're going to be somewhere. So, you know, I'm not worried about it. A lot of players in the transfer portal. I thought I got in the transfer portal a while ago. I lost my walking cane. But anyway, y'all make this show the hottest show on the street, hottest show on YouTube. I'll tell you, over 150 likes. Y'all blowing this show up. We love all y'all. Just hold on, folks. The sky's not falling. Everything will be all right. Coach Saban knows what to do. We hadn't had a coach to this dominance at Alabama since Coach Bryant. I thought it never would come back around, but it did. Coach Saban hadn't lost his gusto. He knows what he's doing. He'll get the people in the right places. He'll get the right players. He'll get their minds right. If he don't, he'll maybe that's what's happening now. Some of them's exiting the door that don't need to be there. I don't know. I don't know what's going on down there. But we know something's going on, and I got confidence in him. He'll straighten it out just like I had confidence in Coach Stallings and Coach Bryant. They always got it right. And when they got to the end of their tenure at Alabama, they gave up and handed the torch off to somebody else. So that's what'll happen in the future if we're allowed to sit. But I love all y'all. Y'all be safe. Y'all make the show great. I love all y'all. We'll be back later on in the week. Bye-bye, everyone.
Appreciate weighing and calling in right there to the show. Like I said, I think my mom is in the portal. I'm trying to get her to go to bed. Mom, go to the Crimson Tide. I'm just joking. I'm just joking right there. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name. Where you calling from?
Hey, Stephen and CJ from T-Town, man. Please get your moms out of the portal, man. Please. Please.
You know what? I'm trying to convince her man to come on to come on out, CJ, because still need that fried chicken. She want to play sports, but still need that fried chicken.
Man, I'm telling you, chaos happened. Well, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. I called in. I told you USC would lose. I told you that LSU would lose. I told you that TCU would lose. Everything that I talked about and everything that I wanted to happen happened. It all happened. And they still left us out. I'm telling you right now, man, I don't care if TCU had 2 losses. We were not getting in. The national media and everybody around it were not letting us in that 14 playoff. And look at it. See TCU right now with 2 losses. Imagine they lost that game. That committee, they would still leave us out. They wouldn't let us get in. And I'm echoing the comments of Elijah. How in the world would you leave out Alabama, one of the most premier programs in the United States? How would you put TCU in front of it? There ain't no way, man. But they done it. They left us out, man. They left us out for a reason, because Alabama haters, they hate us. And I love that, man. And I enjoy that all day, because how much they love us. I couldn't even watch an NFL game yesterday without hearing about Oh, Alabama's out. They're not in. Oh, well, good. They're not good. They hate us so much, Stephen. It makes me sick to my stomach. But then again, it makes me feel good because we are the meter. We are the thermometer. We are the Bama standard. And I just want to say, roll, Tide, roll. Love the show. All right, Stephen.
Appreciate CJ calling in right there. I've mentioned this before. That I don't understand why the College Football Playoff Committee does not stick to the format that it had from the jump. And one of the biggest pieces of the format was consistent dominance in football games, right? Could we turn on your tape and see from start to finish where you took control? And I haven't seen TCU control a game from start to finish all year. But once again, Coach Saban, you don't want to put your destiny in nobody else's hands. You control your own. And Alabama, unfortunately, could not control their own with the losses to Tennessee and LSU. But this is something that nothing refocuses you like not getting what you want. When you don't get what you worked hard for, all of your senses become heightened. And it forces you to put into reflection, what do I need to do? The little things. What do I need to do to make sure this type of feeling that I have right now, I'm not having again? We're going to take this call here. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Steven, how's it going? This is John from Connecticut. How you doing tonight?
Doing great, man. And yourself?
I see a lot of people getting upset and worried about Alabama, but to be honest with you, I think there's a silver lining to all these transfers, and I think after that game, and I think after Auburn, the Iron Bowl, I think Saban got his team together and listen, things are going to be changing next season from not only the players, from the coaches as well. This is not the standard. This is not what Alabama's all about, and we're going to be doing things differently moving forward. And I think this new 2023 class coming in with the wide receivers that are coming in, I think a lot of these wideouts that are transferring are seeing the writing on the wall. And I think Alabama's got a very positive outlook going forward, and I'm not worried at all. And I think there's a silver lining to all this.
I think there is too, John. And I think the biggest silver lining is you get a chance to end your season in a New Year's Six Bowl and one of the classic bowl sites, the Sugar Bowl. You haven't done necessarily well in this bowl side under Coach Saban. You only have, the one Sugar Bowl win so far, and that was 2017. You got a chance at your second Sugar Bowl win, but not just that. You get a shot to jumpstart some players in the next season and take this hurt that you may be feeling this year, channel it into next year, and set the world on fire for 2023. Because you got some young kids coming into this 23 class. They're hungry, and they're going to have a shot to compete for starting spots.
Yeah, I think Isaiah Bond, Kendrick Law, Bobby Prentice. There's a lot of talented freshman wide receivers. They're only going to get better next season. So I think Saban was telling people, listen, moving forward, this isn't going to be. I feel bad about Christian Larry. I don't feel like out of all of them, I think he was the one that I feel like got the. He didn't get out there a lot because at least JoJo Earl and Trayshawn Holden, at least they were playing, and at times they were good, and then times they weren't. I think Christian Larry didn't get a fair shot. I don't know why. Maybe there's something we don't know. But I think moving forward, I think there needs to be some coaches change, not from just the coordinators, maybe some even down lower coaches. I think there needs to be changes. I think the way this new NIL is, and I think you're going to handle players differently than like we used to in the past. I think you got to do things differently, and I think Saban can do it, and I'm not worried.
Appreciate John calling in from Connecticut, giving his thoughts here on the show. Like I mentioned, it's going to be a very intriguing offseason. It's already starting off that way, and the bowl game hasn't even been played yet. All these guys hopping into the portal, but it's going to be a very intriguing offseason. We grab this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Steven. This is Randy from Arlington, Virginia.
Randy, what's going on?
Hey, not a whole lot. I really appreciate the show. This is awesome. I just want to, remind people, including all the jokers on the chat room, we were 2 plays from being undefeated this year. We missed a game-winning field goal at Tennessee, and then, we let them go down the field. We had an interception call back on a questionable call. That's how close we are to still being number one. All the stuff they're saying right now about Coach Saban, that's the same stuff they were saying about Coach Bryant in the late 60s, that he was over the hill. He was done. He couldn't adjust to the new game. He went on to win 4 national titles in the 1970s. And then people talking about it's not Alabama football. Well, was 2020 Alabama football? Was 2017 Alabama football? Last year we went and beat Georgia, with their physical defense and their big running game. We beat them 41-24 in the SEC title game. We did it. Coach Saban has said it in public and said it multiple times. We moved to a finesse game with elite quarterback play, in order to beat, to be there at the end of the season with the way the rules have changed and the way everything's done it. It used to be we did it with defense and running back and, a game manager type of quarterback. That's what Georgia's doing right now. Georgia and Michigan are kind of what we used to do, right? Are we going to go back to that now? I guess that's one of my questions. Are we going to go back to, having that sort of 2015 style of game where we got more of a game manager and we got elite guys on the defensive line and we're sweltering the run, we're pressing the quarterback, and then we've got a Derrick Henry to carry the football.
I think Alabama could, Randy. The one thing there would be, after seeing Bryce Young win a Heisman Trophy, right? A lot of the Bama Nation was like, wow, we can win Heisman trophies too at the quarterback position. We got one of those guys too now, and Bryce Young. Now, of course, Bryce is gone after this season, and you're looking at either Ty Simpson or Jalen Milroe. You can go to that route of the run game and the offensive line that you're going to be bringing in to this 2023 class. They want to run the football. I think Alabama can do that, can go back to that. It starts with, what is your move if you're Nick Saban in the offseason in terms of your offensive coordinator? What is that move? Because you've had 2 years with Bill O'Brien. You tried it. It has not worked. It has not been fruitful the way you want it to be. So what do you do in the offseason to assure yourself, okay, our offense is going to be balanced. Our offense is going to be fruitful. Our offense is not going to have days where it's just looking like paint dry. So it's going to start with who's the guy that you could replace O'Brien with as an offensive play caller?
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely right. But let's go back a few years ago. Saban was tired of losing assistant coaches every year. Or having every year there be some question about, are they going to go leave? So I think he took some chances on some younger staff and maybe some folks that didn't have necessarily all the qualifications immediately for the job. Obviously some of the play calling hasn't been great. We've seen some issues with fundamentals, but then you think back to, in my opinion, we lost the national championship in 2016 because Lane Kiffin, decided to bail on us before the Clemson game that year. I understand where he's coming from. He didn't want that type of crap to happen again.
Oh, absolutely. He didn't want that to happen. But I've always said this, Randy, in terms of Coach Saban, there are just coaches out there that have a way with players. They know how to get the best out of them. They know how to help them to reach their full potential. They can relate to them right where they are. Those coaches get results, and those coaches are proven guys. And it's just those coaches, you do everything that you possibly can to not let those guys walk out the door. Because once they walk out, it is hard to get a guy that can do the exact same thing, if not better. I mean, look, Alabama losing Lane Kiffin, Saban was able to hit a gold mine with getting Steve Sarkisian in here, but now you're seeing you have the Kiffins of creativity, you have the Sarkisians of creativity with Bill O'Brien. Not the creativity that you've grown accustomed to, not the instant quick strike offense where you can score at will at any given moment that you have grown accustomed to. Defensively, kind of the same thing. With the Kirby Smart, with the Jeremy Pruitt, you had guys that players ran through a brick wall defensively for. They would jump off the moon. They fed off the energy of a Kirby Smart. They fed off the energy of a Jeremy Pruitt. Yes, Pete Golden can talk for talk. He can talk it. But are these players running through that wall going, I want to play for Pete? I'm not seeing it because I'm seeing players lost from the field half the time. I'm seeing players undisciplined plays on the field half the time. I'm seeing players wondering, am I in cover 3? Am I in cover 2? Am I in cover 1? I'm seeing players looking lost like John Fulton was back in 2010.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it is, remember, I mean, even with the Kirby Smart, era and all that, I mean, we had players that it took 3 years for the light to go on for them, right? I mean, especially at these certain key positions on the defense and the secondary, at the middle linebacker position, it was really hard. Like you think about Reuben Foster, right? Like, I mean, the guy physically could have been in the NFL his freshman year, but it took him until his junior year for the light to go on. And I mean, now how do we do that now? How do you do that type of thing now with the transfer portal and, people bailing at the first, sign that they're not going to start from the second they walk on campus? I mean, it makes it harder. I'm not saying we need to go away from that. I'm saying I think we need to get elite quarterbacks. I think Coach Saban was right to do what he did in terms of shifting our focus, kind of away from the 2015 model. I just think, it's not easy, and you don't get a generational talent at quarterback walking in the door every day. I mean, it's not easy, and you take your chances on that.
You definitely take your chances on that, Randy, but I think it all goes back to the number one thing. Recruiting is the lifeblood of college football. And it's which players and the evaluation of recruiting fit the culture you're trying to create or fit the culture that you want to have established. When you get the players in that fit what you want to do, why you want to do it, and the purpose for it, the players set that culture themselves, and it permeates throughout the entire program. So it starts with you getting the right type of athlete inside of the building at every position. But appreciate Randy from Virginia for that call. Great conversation there with him. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
This is Clark from Georgia, Stephen. It's been a while, but it's good to be back on with you. I've been listening the entirety of the show tonight, and it's been a good one so far.
And I appreciate that, Clark. How you doing? Great, man. And yourself?
I'm doing pretty well. Life's been really busy, but I'd like to get a little release on this pressure valve of mine because I haven't been able to have many people empathize with me living here in Georgia with what's going on this season. To play off your last segment with a lot of the things that have been getting talked about, I think there's a lot of players that, quite frankly, are staying and do not want to have anything to do with this bowl game because of our coordinators. Let me ask you something. DeMarco Hellams, how much has he helped by having a 4-3 guy from Kansas State run by him on a post pattern and he's out of coverage because Pete Golden called the wrong play? Or how about, let's look at where Trayshawn Holden would have been if he were still with us. What, is he going to drop 2 more passes across the middle and cause his stock to go down even further to where a team wouldn't even want him in the offseason? Let me get a little feedback from you.
Mark, I can see that. I can see that. From the DeMarco Hellams standpoint, I've made this argument. He's a linebacker. He's not a safety. He's a dime linebacker. I don't know why Alabama has not played him closer to the box. He's not a coverage safety. they continue to put him back there and put him in those compromised situations, like you mentioned, whether he's taking on a running back on a wheel route, or if they have to line him up against the slot receiver in a bunched formation, a la the Tennessee game where he got burned by Jalen Hyatt the entire game. So I understand exactly where you're coming from there with DeMarco Hellams. And then the same thing with Trayshawn Holden has not been his best year at all. I mean, he had 6 touchdown catches, yes, but in critical moments could not catch the football. Don't know why, but could not catch the football. So, Clark, I can see your sentiment with that.
Well, I think something, too, and that kind of plays along with my next point. I think that we need coordinators that can not only resonate in the living rooms like the guy was talking about a little while ago, but can actually come to you and maybe even text you at night and make sure you're doing okay, and make sure that, you know, that relationship is intact and that communication's there. Saban even pointed to it a few days ago about how one thing about this team that he realized same changes needed to be made was that the coordinators and the rest of the staff hadn't made it incumbent upon themselves to reach out and make relationships with the players, maybe to the extent that they did before, or maybe they should be moving towards, when you think about how many distractions there are with social media and, you know, seeing things on TV and hearing people talk. When you lost to LSU on the last play, on a play where a coach was quite frankly trying to make an alpha move and make a move towards the division when he knew they probably weren't going to be going to the playoff anyway. You know, like that kind of dichotomy right there within your program, and these players feeling as though, hey, I may not be starting, but I do have a relationship with my coach, and I do have an understanding that if I do X, Y, and Z, and actually be part of the process, not just look at it as a word on the wall when you're coming into the facility. When we get back to that as a staff and as players, that's when we're going to really get back to that mentality of, this isn't a job because we love it. Everyone else treating it like a job, that's the reason why we're stuffing it in January to close out a championship game. That's the difference, and that's what we didn't have this year. It made it self-evident in the Texas game, and it made it self-evident in the Arkansas game, quite frankly, until Jahmyr Gibbs slammed the door on them. And then, obviously, Tennessee and LSU, and even Ole Miss. Ole Miss had a very reasonable shot to win that game. So Alabama has put themselves in this position, and our lack of discipline and, quite frankly, the lack of energy on the sideline and on the field, especially defensively, and on the road, I would say offensively even more so. That's been the main thing that's pointed out to me as to why this season will go down as one of the most regrettable in the Saban era.
Going back to your point, Clark, about energy, it has not been one of those energetic teams. It has not, and that's the eerily sad and scary thing, because you're so used to watching back in 2015 and 16. You could look at the sideline, you could see Scott Cochran will start jumping up and down first. And then you would have Jonathan Allen jumping up and down, and Dalvin Tomlinson, and Deron Payne, and Ryan Anderson, and Tim Williams. Everybody would just start jumping. And then it would go from the coaches to the players to the fans. It was just an electricity in the building at that time. And this season, you look at the sideline, it's almost like it's not there. It's almost like you're at a funeral. It's almost like you're at church. And there's no jumping. There's no excitement. There's no oomph. There's no electricity. They're just there. And
Stephen, what's so strange to me is that even with that lack of energy that we have seen as fans, like a perfect example is right after the Texas game. We won that game by 1 point against a team that went on to go, 8-4? And you got guys out here pointing horns down and, getting up in people's faces and almost starting fights. When in the world did that become Alabama? You won a game by the skin of your teeth in a game that you were favored by 3 touchdowns, and you're not walking off business like? You've been awfully quiet over there on the sideline the whole game. It was almost like a relief for these guys to win, and their raw emotion showed not at the time where it may have been useful and relevant, where Saban talks about using that emotion and channeling it, but not being emotional. They were only very emotional at the very end of the game. They were only using emotion at the end of the game when they would close teams out that they were far superior to, but for some reason or another, a la penalties or turnovers, they would find themselves right in the thick of things late in the game and sometimes down to the very last play.
Changes have got to be made in the offseason for this team to get to where it needs to be at, and that's having that respect, and that's also putting that fear of God, so to speak, back into opposition in college football. Appreciate Clark there from Georgia giving us his thoughts on the show. Great conversations from all of you today. And I think we got more, Eli. Do we have more? We do have more. We'll take this call. You're live on the show. It's happening. How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hello, this is Cody Gore. I'm calling from Georgia. Steve, how you doing?
Doing great, man. And yourself?
Oh man, I'm just trying to hold in the road, man. I'm just so disappointed with my team this year, man. And the guys, how they just leaving and going into the transfer portal, man, just got me really just down and out, man. You know, I mean, I know the standard. I've been a Bama fan since 15 years now, man. And I'm just really just down and out, man. How these guys is not showing the lack of discipline and the heart, you know. Now I know that we have, you know. I understand a lot of people want to blame it on Pete Gold and Bill O'Brien, man, but where's the heart of these guys they used to have, you know? I mean, I want them to have the heart like they had when Jaden Waddle played, you know, Najee Harris, you know, Devontae Smith. You know, I'm just so disappointed right now, man. You know, then they put TCU in over us, man. You know, I'm just really just down and out there. You know, I'm really hurt, man.
I mean, Cody, I mean, when you look at it, that's the big question is getting those players that have that heart like those guys you just mentioned. You didn't have to say anything really to a Jalen Waddle, to a Devontae Smith. You know, those guys had it in them. When they walked on campus, it was right there in them. I mean, Najee Harris, same thing. You know, Najee came up in a rough situation in California, homeless. But he came to Alabama with a passion, with the desire. He knew he was that dude. You didn't have to tell him anything. You knew. He knew he was that guy. He knew what he was capable of. And in today's age of football, and Mike McCoy, former Alabama receiver, he said something that the more I think about it, the more true it becomes. Hard times build tough people. Easy times build soft people. And he's absolutely correct. People that go through some stuff, you see the character, you see the toughness, you see the grit and the strength that's in that. People that come up with everything sort of handed to them, they don't value the work ethic. They don't value the grind. They don't value what it takes to get to the mountain because the mountain's been handed to them. So part of this goes back to recruiting the type of players that they weren't given the mountain. They had to work for it.
Right, Steve. And it's all about leadership, you know? I mean, Jesus, man. Where's the leadership? You know? I mean, I just ain't seen nobody out there just trying to be a leader, you know? And I mean, I just know one thing. We just need to stay away from that portal. You know, I feel like we just get back to the old Bama standard way. We'll be all right, and we'll get them leaders that we used to have there, you know.
Gotta have guys step up, Cody, to be vocal leaders. I mean, Bryce Young, Will Anderson are lead by example, and that's good. You need those, but you also need those guys that will get in your face, some tough love, put it on you sometimes, wrestle with you sometimes, fight with you sometimes. You got to have those guys too. Those guys in your face, vocal guys. You got to have some vocal dudes here on this team. But appreciate my man Cody from Georgia calling in, letting his emotion be made known on the show. We'll take this call. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Steven. This is Sishi. How's it going?
Sishi, what's going on? This is what we need. We need the girl that's got the information here. Cece, what you got for us today?
You know I got it. So you remember, I think I called in about a week ago, and after I said what I said, I remember I asked you, I said, well, what do you think? And you said this. You said, I think three things. I think, one, you should be a coach on the team. 2, you should be a part of the college football playoff committee. Or 3, you should be the commissioner for college football. Speaking to point number 2 regarding the committee, that's actually something that I actually have had thoughts about, no lie. But after seeing the trash that occurred this weekend, that's something that I would not want to be a part of because there is no integrity. It's complete trash. Okay, let me just backtrack a little bit. So I was talking with someone today. He went to Georgia. He's a huge Georgia fan. And he told me, he said, I hate to say it, and this is going to sound bad, but I'm glad that y'all didn't make it in. He literally said that. He said, we didn't want to play y'all. So that just lets us know just like the perception and how people feel. You know what I'm saying? Because we see it from one perspective, but these other teams, and they can hate, they can throw shade, whatever, but they know what it is. And so that just let me know, coming from and he's literally a diehard Bama fan. He graduated from there. So that just kind of let me know, like kind of on the outside looking in, how some people feel. But I will say this, that Bama, we've always been judged on a different scale than other teams. It's just always been that way. And I think that's one of the reasons why we hear these commentators talk about how, oh, well, Bama only beat certain teams by a few points. But they don't say that when it comes to TCU and Michigan. How about TCU? They barely beat Texas and Baylor. Or what about Michigan? They barely beat Illinois and Maryland. But that doesn't apply to them. So they judge us on a different scale. And I think that the committee is really a hot mess. I think it's an embarrassment. I think that, see, when we go back to it and just kind of understand why the committee was established in the first place, it was after our 2011 season when we played LSU twice and we stomped them out 21-0, and everyone, it was this huge uproar about, oh, well, why do we have like two teams playing each other twice that are from the same conference and the same division? People didn't like that. My question is, you can establish a playoff system all you want, but why do you have to have the people? Because when you introduce people into the equation, now you have room for human error, emotion, bias, all of that. They could have kept it the AP poll and just expanded, instead of like the BCS where it was 2 teams, they could have expanded it to like maybe 4 or 6 teams, but still kept it based on the AP because you already have an algorithm built, and so they could have just enhanced it over time. But you don't stick a group of people with whatever level of expertise, because I guess they call themselves experts, but they're not. So let's look at what happened this weekend. We look at USC let's look at USC. So they lost to Utah in their regular season. Utah was ranked at that time, and then they lose to them again, which I figured they would lose to them in their conference championship game. What happened in the rankings? They dropped USC by at least like 3 or 4. Okay, so then let's look at TCU, for example. Why did TCU's rankings stay the same before and after they played Kansas State? I don't care about them, having gone unbeaten. That doesn't mean anything to me because they can't explain. You have a Tennessee who lost 2 games, one of which was an unranked team, and they lost by almost 30 points. But you put USC behind them when USC only lost to a ranked team twice. So my point is that the committee, everything is subjective. There's no integrity. It was complete trash. It makes no sense. They select teams and they do the rankings based on how they feel and what bowl games they want to see, which is exactly why they put TCU at number 3. They didn't want TCU playing Georgia. They knew what would happen if TCU would have played Georgia right off the bat. And so I just feel like, one argument that they may have is, well, we put USC behind Tennessee because of strength of schedule. Okay, well, keep that same energy when it comes to TCU because they ain't got no strength of schedule. Who do they play? And like I said, they came close to Baylor and Texas. So you like, my thing is the entire objective of the college football playoff I guess its entirety is to have the top 4 teams, the best teams in the nation. TCU is not one. I think that if it expanded to 6 or 8 teams, then they would have made it in. But I don't think that they're a top 4 team, and we all know that. So I just think that it's too much human error in this. I think it's too much bias. I do think that people. And I say people, certain people, the committee and different people, they're tired of seeing Alabama. But I honestly feel like even if TCU would have had just one loss, before playing Kansas State, they would have still found a way to try to justify putting them in over us. That's just what they wanted to do. And so I do think that I don't know if you all noticed, but every team that's in the top 4 right now, their conference championship games, every single one of them played a team that had 3 or more losses. So what does that tell you? That tells you that there's a problem with these divisions that we have in these conferences. What that means is that when you look at a Michigan, they had to play a team that had lost 4 games in the regular season. What does that mean? That means that if the objective is to have the top 4 teams in the nation, the divisions, that's going to do away with that, because you should have the top teams in that conference competing. It shouldn't be a Michigan playing a Purdue. I mean, it's been easy for them the entire season, and it just stayed easy for them. And I just think that they need to. It's almost like they skipped some steps. In a sense, they need to go backwards. They need to do away with this trash committee that has no integrity. They pick who they want to pick, and they have a problem with Alabama. So we have to be perfect. We have to blow people out. But when it comes to like the TCUs and, Michigans, all these other teams, it's cool if they do it, but if we do it, it's a problem, right? And so my point is that, when we hear these so-called fans and different people saying, oh, well, we'll get it next year, but we say that every time. We say that after the 2010 when Cam Newton and, Auburn, we say that every time. And I'm tired of hearing it. I don't want a Sugar Bowl. That's not the bowl that I was expecting. I don't think that that's what we worked for. And I just think that we let a lot of noise get in our heads. I think when you think about like Christian Leary and like different people who are entering the transfer portal, I do think that's a good strategic move. And I say that because, we're not hearing anything about O'Brien. And if I were a player and if I was on the offense, I would do the same thing, because it's almost as if you have to push Saban's hand at this point. And so I think it's going to be more offensive guys entering the portal, and rightfully so. And I just think O'Brien, you have certain people that you just don't have that level of expertise. His behind he needs to be coaching at DeVry, and DeVry doesn't even have a football team. That's his level of expertise. He needs to go somewhere. And I just think that he didn't know what to do with the players that we have, and that's why we see, a lot of them just want to leave, and I don't blame them. Like, honestly, when I watched Utah and USC, I think Friday night, Utah in the second half, they literally looked like an SEC team, in my opinion. I mean, I could line them up with like a Missouri with the way that they played in the second half. And if you notice in the conference championship games this weekend, you hear a lot of like the commentators kept mentioning freshmen. I just kept hearing them say, oh, this person is a true freshman, whatever. And so to me, that matters. And I think that when you create the right system around them, why are we sitting up here trying to vouch for why we should be in the top 4? We're a top 4 team. So we just look like, I hate to say it, we look like peasants. Like, we look like we were beggars trying to say, oh, well, pick me. No, we are a top 4 team, but the committee, we need to do away with them. I think the NCAA failed when they established the committee. They should have kept it, with the AP poll expanded by, maybe 4 or 6 teams. And even if they wanted to do divisional championships, that's why you have a Purdue in that weak division that they have. How do you line them up against? So Michigan is in the locker room laughing because they're playing a team that lost 4 games. Like, to me, it just doesn't make sense, and they know that, and they're not doing anything about it, and they sit on their hands acting like they're experts. There's no integrity. They pick and choose. It's too much bias. It's too much human error. It's just too much room for them to, and they don't have to answer to anyone. I think that's my biggest thing about it, is that no one can challenge them. So Mr. Boo Carrigan, whatever his name is, he gets on the screen about why we chose this team and this team, and so they want to throw out strength of schedule, but it only applies to certain teams. Right? They don't say that when it comes to Alabama. Who in the hell? What about our strength of schedule? So we only beat Texas by 1 point, but it was okay when, these other teams have these close games. And at this point, I think that it's an embarrassment to society to have this so-called committee. I don't understand who chose them. I don't understand the chair over this Boo person. I don't know who chose him. I don't understand why they don't have if you're going to have a committee of people with whatever biases they have, because they're probably just tired of seeing Alabama in it. If you're going to have this type of committee, you need to have someone that's an overseer, and it really needs to be a panel of people. It can't just be Boo. It can't just be him over that. And so if they're not going to get in line, if they're not going to fix what this trash that they have going on, then I think that there needs to be some form of boycott. I don't know what that looks like, but I would prefer to see them go back to the AP poll, use the computer system, update the algorithms, and just expand it to maybe 6 teams. I mean, to me, it's not even rocket science. I mean, these people act like they have literally like, okay, anyway, they act like that they can't just get it together. And to me, it just pisses me off because we have no reason. It doesn't make sense why we did not get in the top 4. Like, it doesn't make sense. But not that I'm saying that we're entitled to that, because we're definitely not, but we are a top 4 team. And I'm not going to accept that. So, Boo or whoever that is that's over the playoff committee, they need to try again. All of them need to just, that's it. Like, that committee, we need to do away with that, because it's trash. It's no integrity. They pick and choose who they want. They're putting people in these spots based on the games that they want to see. That's exactly why Tennessee is ranked ahead of USC. Tennessee got blown out by an unranked team. You cannot justify that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, if you really look at it, there are teams past it. I mean, it's like maybe, I don't know, maybe a few teams between like spot 10 and 25 that only lost 2 games. Why aren't they in the top 10? So it's just the rules apply to certain schools, but they pick and choose what they want to see. So honestly, at this point, I mean, I don't know what else to say. I feel like I've said a lot over this season. Clearly, they ain't hearing it, but they're going to hear me soon, because it was complete trash. It was a waste of my time watching those games, because I should have known that they were going to do some foolery. They were going to try to sneak TCU in there, have them running around like they deserve to be in there. They're a good team, but they don't play the caliber of teams that we play every single week. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't make sense. Line them up with the Georgia in the regular season. You know what I'm saying? Line up a USA, and I'm not just talking about 1 or 2 teams. I'm saying that every single regular season schedule, if the committee is acting like they're half crazy and they don't know what to do, then you can always change up the schedules. You can have more non-conference games. You know what I'm saying? Like, to where it's almost a more like level playing field. It's not rocket science, but they act like they don't have I don't know where they came from, but they need to figure it out. But anyway, I'm done with my rant, Stephen. But do you have any thoughts that you would like to share?
I just have this one. This is why I enjoy what I do. I mean, I get a chance to talk to the most passionate fan base in college football 3 days a week. Wish it could be more, but 3 days a week, and I agree. I have had my thoughts about the College Football Playoff Committee. They have been contradictory in almost every form of way. We've seen it from strength of schedule to turn on the tape to the eye test to best wins to best losses to worst wins, worst losses, whatever type of criteria they want to throw up there on the screen. I've seen the contradiction from start to finish. So to me at this point, I mean, I don't pretty much care what the committee has to say. Me, personally, I hate it had to come down to even putting it in their hands. I would have loved to have seen Alabama took care of Tennessee and LSU so that discussion would not even have to happen, but it had to happen. Alabama still got all the chaos it wanted, did not get in. Oh, well, but I appreciate the passion from all of you. She, the star in the building from Atlanta, calling in. Always appreciate her thoughts and viewpoints here on the show. Eli, I love this. I don't know if you love this, but I like just getting this injected into my veins right now. These conversations. We take this one. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from. You're live on the show,
Hello?
caller. You're there. We
Hello?
got you.
Hey.
What's
Hey,
going
I
on?
just want to speak. Hey, how you doing? This is Keith from Tuscaloosa, T-Town, Alabama. I just wanted to let y'all know, man, I'm proud of our team. They worked their butts off this year. And, you know, it's a few mistakes that come along the way. But don't give up. I remember the 4-7. I remember the 3 and whatever. You know what I'm saying? So
Keith, I remember it too.
I'm all the way.
Keith, I remember the
Yes,
4-7s. I remember the 3 and 8s. I remember the 6 and 6.
And I was like 10 and 2. Y'all want to fire everybody? Hey, we ain't got a staff there to stay there long enough. They all running off somewhere else. Look, It's let things roll. Trust Coach Saban and what he got going on. And I do. I hadn't seen the dominance he had. Y'all seen Cole Bryant. I was too young, but I didn't know the understanding like that. But I was kind of young, but I didn't understand it like this. Now I see it with my own eyes. I'm 50 years old. You feel me? So, hey, leave these coaches alone. Don't worry about it. Trust the man that's in charge. I trust him. Great man. You know what I'm saying? What he's doing is bigger than football. So don't worry about this. We're going to go through this, and then guess what? We'll do it again. Am I right?
Keith, good point on your end. Good, strong point there on your end. Keith from Tuscaloosa calling in. It's always with me with this, Eli. It's just my opinion. You have the ones, like my man Keith here, trusting Coach Saban. And it's not the fact that the fan base does not want to trust Coach Saban. It is the fact that there's the product that we know is Alabama football, and we've seen it, and we've grown to enjoy it, and we've grown to brag about it. We've grown to bet games on it. For those of you that are doing that, we've grown to do a lot of exciting things with the Bama product that we know is the Bama product. And then you have these last 2 years where there have been some good moments, but not necessarily the Bama product that we know. And quite naturally, when you're so used to a product being strong, durable, good, dependable, reliable, and then it starts not being those things, quite naturally, you're going to file a complaint. Quite naturally, you're going to be upset. It's just like, for example, Eli, if I was to go to McDonald's right now and I was to get me a double quarter pounder of cheese, fries, and a drink, and I see my double quarter pounder ain't cooked right, and I see that my Sprite tastes like water, and I see my fries ain't cooked, you're going to see a pretty upset Stephen M. Smith. I'm just going to be real with you. Now, I may not say a lot of choice words, but I'm going to still be highly ticked off because the product quality of my food ain't what I want it to be. So it's the same thing with Alabama football. You have those that say, yes, trust Nick Saban, and you do for the viewpoint, for the standpoint of he has taken this program and has brought it back up from the downswing where it was under the DuBoses and Price and Franchione and unfortunately Shula. But when you are not seeing what you've grown to enjoy about Alabama football, and you're seeing an issue that's wrong, and you're an individual that's passionate about your team, you call that out. You absolutely call that out. If you don't call that out, can you really say you enjoy your football team? Always something to chew on and think about. But here's a call. We'll take this when you're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
I'm doing well. This is Bryant Boykin from Sherland, Alabama. How you doing?
Doing great, man. And yourself?
Doing well. I have a question. With Bryce leaving, and many people are like, how do you know he's leaving? That wave pretty much told you he's going to the draft. With him leaving, we have Jalen Miro and Simmons right there. They're two are going to duel it out for the starting, but also there is a lot of quarterbacks in the transfer pool as of right now. A lot of quarterbacks that have experience. Should Alabama look into the transfer pool for a quarterback, or let them two duel it out, see who could be the starter?
Me personally, Brian, I would say let Milroe and Simpson duel this out. I know there's a ton of quarterbacks in the transfer portal, a lot with experience, a lot with athleticism, quite a few of them big accuracy. I get it. But You brought in Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson as freshmen. You brought them in with the idea of we're going to develop them, we're going to grow them, we're going to mentor them and put them in situations where they can lead this team and this program to a championship. And it would be a disservice to both of those two if you go out there and you bring in somebody from the transfer portal. I think you let Simpson and you let Milroe duel this thing out, and whoever wins this thing out, that guy's the starting quarterback. And you got two other guys coming in as freshmen when you discuss Dylan Larnigan and Eli Holstein, but I will let Simpson and Milroe duel this out.
I totally agree. Secondly, I have to admit it, I hated the ranking. I hated it, but it is what it is. You can say all you want about it, but telling the truth, I am excited for 2024 because that's when the 12-team playoff is going to start. And in my opinion, that's going to be when nobody, in my opinion, can start pointing fingers saying you can be in, you can be in. You have the top 12 teams, duel it out. I think that's going to be an exciting year.
Absolutely. Brian from Tuscaloosa calling in right there. Appreciate him. 2024-25 season, Eli. 12-team college football playoff. People have been talking about expansion. Now you get what you asked for. Now you get it. Like my man Chris Daughtry said, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it all. You just might get it all. College Football Nation is getting it all. 2024-2025, 12-team playoff. Gotta show some love to Donna Bridgeton. That $5 donation in the chat. Appreciate Donna. Brian Watson comes in there with that $4.99 in the chat. The love there, the horn's going. Eli's blowing my ear up with this horn, but appreciate that, Eli. Daily Super Chat Go, $100. Daily Super Chat Go. Appreciate the support and the love from all of you in the phone calls. Great perspectives from all of you. This is passion. What makes college football and Alabama football what it is. This is what makes shows, radio and YouTube what they are. I enjoy this. This is fun. 3 days a week, sitting on a stage, talking to Bama football fans, and having the wonder kid Eli Walker thinking, is this guy crazy? He doesn't think that, though. At least I hope not. Eli, you don't think I'm crazy, do you? No, he does not. Thank goodness. Anyway, we're going to go to this cool call topic right here, and it is on the Bama players that are in the portal. As I mentioned, a bunch of guys jumped in here. This started, the full exodus started in November. Now, the whole line of Bama players in the portal, you've got Braylon Ingram, defensive lineman, Jack Martin, place kicker, Trey Sanders, running back, Kyrie Jackson, cornerback, Damian George Jr., offensive lineman, Tanner Bowles, offensive lineman, Javion Cohen, offensive lineman, Trayshawn Holden, wide receiver, Christian Leary, wide receiver. Now you've got JoJo Earl, wide receiver, Tommy Brockermeyer, offensive lineman, and the final offensive lineman, which is Amari Kite. I mean, there's several guys in the portal, and these are all scholarship names. In terms of walk-ons, you got walk-on receiver Jacoby Boykins in the portal, running back Elijah Crockett in the portal. Several dudes in this portal. So we'll see what happens in terms of their career path. Now, Trey Sanders has actually reached out to Coach Prime, Deion Sanders at Colorado. Hey, Unc, you got some room for me? Maybe Coach Prime opens up that door to Trey Sanders. Adds him into the Pac-12. Wish the best for Trey. I really do. I mean, I hope he just goes and balls out. Because, I mean, that dude deserves it. Just hated that the injuries didn't allow him to flourish in Tuscaloosa. Really hate that. So, wherever Trey Sanders, wherever they all end up, Hope they all succeed, absolutely. But definitely for Trey Sanders and all of the mishaps that he had to overcome there. We take our final break on the show, folks. When we get back, Alabama starting to see a couple of coaches targeted for other spots. One coach on staff already gone. We'll talk about that after this.
Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
All right, people, we're back into the action from the break, dropping that fire. Hottest show on the streets, in my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of TDA. We're at 216 likes. Put some water on me. Y'all on fire, man. 216 likes. 360 plus in the chat. Appreciate you guys tonight, man. You guys have been fantastic. I'm trying not to cry. Trying really hard not to be emotional right now. But appreciate you guys, man. Continue to have those donations in there. Daily super chat to go $100. Daily super chat to go $100 right there. Appreciate the support from you. But we get into now final topic of the conversation. But before that, tomorrow 6 p.m. Central Time, streaming live on the TDA YouTube channel. We got the Bama Standard, so check that out with Justin Riley, comedy legend Steve Brown, all SEC linebacker, Bama legend Marvin Constant, two-time national championship running back, USFL champion Bo Scarborough. We got the fun, we got the laughter, we got the comedy, we got the Bama legends. We are not politically correct. The Bama Standard tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Time, streaming right here on TDA's YouTube channel. But we're already seeing a couple of Crimson Tide coaches targeted for other jobs. One has actually left the program for the new job, and first and foremost, we got to get into this. With Coach Prime, Deion Sanders taking the head coaching position at Colorado. Did a great job at Jackson State University. Outstanding job at Jackson State. But now he goes to the Pac-12, where he's going to have full access there, that transfer portal, to build up that Buffaloes program. But the name he's targeted for Alabama, it's because of the Florida State connection, right? Coach Prime was a defensive back at Florida State. So the name that he's targeting, Charles Kelly, Alabama's associate defensive coordinator and safeties coach. Kelly, at 55 years of age, is a native of Ozark, Alabama. Played his college ball at Auburn. He was on the Florida State coaching staff from 2013 to 2017. He served there as a special teams coach, linebackers coach, and defensive coordinator under Jimbo Fisher. Kelly was on Florida State's 2013 BCS National Championship staff. So that Florida State connection, what Coach Prime is trying to build there, targeting Charles Kelly. And hopefully, Kelly may take that job there, because the safety position at Alabama hasn't been what U.S. fans wanted it to be this year. So Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, targeting Charles Kelly. In terms of offensively for Alabama, one of its young, talented, bright minds as a staffer leaving the program. One of the top off-field analysts, Alex Mortensen, who's been an offensive analyst since 2019. Mortensen did a great job with Tua Tagovailoa, did a great job with Mac Jones in 2020. did a fantastic job with Bryce Young last year, behind the scenes, cutting up game tape, putting schemes together. Mortensen, who is the son of ESPN's Chris Mortensen, is now at UAB. Alex Mortensen taking the offensive coordinator job for the Blazers as he was hired by Trent Dilfer, former Super Bowl champion, and the man behind the Elite 11. Trent Dilfer is back in the coaching game with the Blazers, has hired Alex Mortensen as his offensive coordinator. So congratulations to young Mort, moving on to UAB. So as we look at here, Pete Golden and Bill O'Brien, the two names that USC Alabama fan base are going, how long, Lord? How long, Jesus? How long will these two remain? That's probably what you guys are saying. I mean, I can't read your mind. Probably what a lot of you are saying. I know Jay from Florence is saying it. Yeah. Bill O'Brien, Pete Golden. Once the bowl game ends, where that will start, those dominoes will start to shake. Bill O'Brien, I still think the NFL, whether it's the New England Patriots, the Cincinnati Bengals, somebody in the NFL going to get him. Pete Golden, that's the mystery, man. I mean, that's like casting your net out into the deep blue and wondering, am I going to catch a fish or am I going to get pranked? I mean, that's what it is. I mean, some of these analogies, Eli, I'm pulling them out. It's becoming gold right now. They're hitting at the right time. But that's honestly how I feel when it comes to Pete Golding. It's the mystery of the big blue. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. Because you look at these press conferences, and Coach Saban is speaking just tremendously high of Coach Golding, and you wonder, is this Saban trying to move Golding to another job because he's speaking highly of him and he wants other people to look at him? Or is this Coach Saban literally telling us in the face, I want to hold on to this guy? You really don't know. And for people that say, well, it's an offensive game now, so you got to cut Golding some slack. It's an offensive game now. I, for one, early on, when you look at 2019, 2020, I early on was saying, hey, you got to cut Pete some slack. But now I'm like, look, I bit the bullet on this one. Look, it's not working. It's not working. Okay, it's not working. If Georgia can sit here and show us all you can still win championships with just kill them defense. If Georgia's showing you that it can still happen, then people, it can still happen. It can still happen. The idea is, how badly does Alabama want it to happen? That's the question. You got the money. Got the checkbook there. Probably can call Oprah and have Oprah help you out even more if she chooses to do that. But you got the means to turn this thing around, especially defensively. Go get you a proven coordinator. Small coordinators, they work at small schools. This is not a small program. This is the thermometer of college football. You can't start a conversation without Alabama. You can't. I mean, look at this. The chaos that has happened in the playoff. And yet you had people scared to death that they going to put Alabama in? Is it going to really happen? Is Debo going to find his way back in there? Like, you literally had people scared to death because they really thought the committee was going to seriously put Alabama in there. And that was the thermometer, people. The thermometer. And you got to have that thermometer right. How do you have that thermometer right? By having the right temperature set on it. Now, how do you have Alabama right? You got to have the right proven coaches in here that fit what you're trying to do. Pete Golding, Bill O'Brien was a nice experiment. They just don't fit. Sometimes you just don't fit. Don't fit, man. It's like me. I'm not going to fit every personality. And that's cool. I'm not going to fit everybody's personality. I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. Some people think I'm the most annoying person on the planet. Hey, that's cool. That is cool. But I know my lane. I'm riding that sucker. Going 100 miles per hour. Not 100 miles per hour, but you get the point I'm trying to make. Anyway, we'll see the other changes that could be made here in the offseason in terms of the coaching staff. But as always, Bama Nation, you want the best in news, notes, entertainment on your favorite program, that being the Crimson Tide. You can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You download the app from the iPhone App Store if you're rocking Team Apple. Google Play Store if you got the Android phone. For your audio needs, check us out, iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, TuneIn Radio, Overcast.fm, Google Play, or iHeartRadio. We got you covered. The good and gracious Lord C. Spit out, try to be back on Wednesday, continuing the conversation. It's Tide football. Remember, Bama fans, you can do this. This can happen. You can do this. You can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Have those sent to your door. That link found in the description. You're trying to get your hands on the fresh edition, print edition of TDA the magazine. You go to touchdownalabama.com. You click join. Become a member or a subscriber today. That link in the description as well. Gotta shout out all of you, the Bama fans. Outstanding phone calls, chats, donations, liking the show, conversations we had today. I'm talking about bringing that heat. Talking about. Appreciate all of you making this your show, network, platform, your place. You got a place here. I talk Bama. You don't get that everywhere else. You got a place here. If you want to come let off some steam, let the chopper fall one time, do this right here. Right here. Free reign. Free course right here. Appreciate all the calls and what you do to make this your platform right here. Gotta shout out the Wonder Kid, Eli Walker, associate producer in the studio. Eli works his tail off. Been doing it all season. Appreciate that guy right there. Grew up, man. Been gone from watching John Iver to doing it himself. Proud of that guy right there. Fast and furious. Eli Walker. As always, people, husbands, love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands, children. You guys continue doing the right thing, fun thing, smart thing, good thing, legitimate thing. Not be bored there. You get yourself those 3 hearty meals a day, those 3 great laughs a day. You protect yourself. You protect the loved ones around you. Until next time, folks, I'm your man, Stephen M. Smith, and you've been listening. In my own words.